Hi guys, it's been quite a while since my previous video. I believe it was sometime back in 2017 or late 2016, can't really remember. But I've been continuing playing and composing new songs, and lately I've been working with a great singer called Mia Savolainen. She's one gem I found from quite close to my current location. And she had left a note to a forum for asking someone to make maybe find her band or compose songs or whatever. And this is what we came up. I believe this was late last winter, around December, and we finally nailed it like at the end of February, so this was quite a long project for multiple reasons. But let's take a listen to it, and we'll go to deeper analysis after it. So here we go.
Time goes by, she is wondering why can't stop the hourglass or change anything in the past. In the past, it's not ever last. She said and done, wishes to come undone. When it's not a curse, something less and something worse. No plans to leave today, but still she knows it's her way. The fire's burning in her soul, she's finally full grown. Feels not like home, each path is written to the stars, hope and dreams on afar. Finally, the dawn will break. The silence and awakes her heart. She's ready for a change, throwing all the ties away. So he's switching out a tone. No, all my confused, you need to choose. If you don't lose, how many days went by? Now I saw it touch, she flies, space, but it's changed. I know release the firestone. Now I'm lady hourglass. It's not a crime she ever passed. No more tears, no more cry. She says, oh,
So that's what we came up with, and this song was actually originally inspired by those classic Bond themes, and I really wanted to make something which sounded like really a pop song, but I thought it should have some kind of quite original sound, to my flavor at least, as an orchestral piece. And this was my first real grand composing song, if we count number of instruments and the variety between those used. So I really think I did quite a good job based on what I started with, because I never had really made anything like this before. As you might have seen previous videos from my when I worked on songs which were quite a lot more like cinematic tracks, I really liked how this turned out to be compared to those tracks, because I got some essential things from those cinematic ideas into a really basic pop song, and well, that's what I think. Let's see what this song was built upon, and I'm going to give some insights on how this song was actually coming up. So originally this wasn't as complex within the template. I really started with a single idea, which was it wasn't actually the intro. I believe it was the chorus, I believe. So let's start with that chorus and dwell deeper and see how it works. So I guess the first thing I remember recording and getting something like this could actually work was this bass lead behind vocals. So let's take another look over here. I'm going to turn off the vocals. So I think I originally planned this song by making this one grand ensemble patch which contains well, it's meant to be played like legato, so it has the full CSS full how many SS are there? Full ensemble, one more, and cello laid with horn ensemble and a trombone ensemble. Oh, sorry, it wasn't ensemble, but let's try how it sounds like. And if I remember correctly, these two these two patches are most likely playing one is octave higher and one is octave lower, so they play in unison. Within the original, sorry, I'm going to change my mic position a bit. Originally, I think this song had this drummer. It was a new plugin I just had bought, and I wanted to just try out how it would work. And I was just doing something like this. So I'm leaving the guitar to play over here, and then I'm going to change my instrument instrument to something else, maybe that's full ensemble. And I was just playing around, something like this. Yep. And I was just trying to discover some kind of a new idea. And after playing around with the piano and this acoustic guitar, I finally got the idea, which was followed with this full ensemble section. And then it was basically just picking up new layers using some well, I just love using those simple ensemble patches. But let's listen to this chorus one more time. I'm going to turn solo for a couple of instruments here, so you can pick up the idea. So this one over here is playing the bass. The ensemble. And the bass is doubled over here because I got a bit clearer, not clearer, but more fulfilling sound by using these two bass lines together. What do we have here? Oh, the battery. So this actually stuck within the beginning of the song as the main drum patch for this song. I really wanted to make something more organic using the each drummer, or I don't know. I just thought I might go for some jazz kind drums, but I don't know. Since it turned out to be a pop song after all, I just went with it, and it stuck. What else do we have here? Okay, yeah, this was one of the original ideas which I kept, but it became less important over the time. So let's hear this one out. So I actually, this was the main sound used for the chorus at the beginning. I think I just went nuts with the strings later on, but it used to be a little more simpler. So let's try to emulate the original idea. I think it was something like this. Yep. And let's go to the beginning. Let's check out the intro. So this piano was actually one of the last pieces I wrote to this song. It didn't have anything over here. It was just like this. Oh, sorry. Which patch? Both, I believe. Yeah, this was the original song. But I wanted to give it more detail, and I came up with this arpeggio. Let's zoom in. Mia is actually a absolutely stunning singer, and we recorded this on my at my apartment. And due to living at apartment, I just told her we probably couldn't get the full force of her sound. So this used to be a ballad kind of a song, and I wanted it to be a smooth one. But we wanted to try some doublings over here and there, and those were actually quite a headache for me, because we didn't catch up the optimal times usually, and finally we went with decision to go like 8 times over some part like this one over here. So I just turned on the loop, and Mia was singing the same background kind of sound, these ones, like 8 times. But the problem was that almost always those started at different times than the original line. So it really gave me a headache. It wasn't how Mia sung those parts, but it was just so hard to get those parts to match up, and I was getting all sorts of phasing errors all the time. But that's something I really need to work more on later. Let's check out Mia's effects on a vocal track.
As the time goes by, she is wondering why can't stop the hourglass or change anything in the past.
So what I'm using over here is the supercharger to put the compression. I think there is nothing really interesting over here. I'm using some mid-side compression over here, so I'm just giving it more 3D sound, 3D kind of sound. And there is this one. I've been using this for vocals just to get more I don't know, it kind of blends the original sound and gives it more character, I think. Let's try with this plugin and without it.
Change anything in the past, in the past, it's not ever last. Finally, the dawn will break the silence and awakes her heart, then awakes her soul.
And finally, there is the Valhalla. I'm using the shimmer for everything. It's my go-to delay. Reverb. What else? What else? Let's see. What do we have here? Over here, I'm using additional line for the melody to make some new arpeggios to keep the song interesting. So let's go to the verse 2 and listen out.
Oh, she said and done, wishes to come undone. When it's not a curse. Something less and something worse. No plans to leave today, but still she knows it's her way. The fire's burning in her soul. She's fine. It's written to the stars, hope and dreams, heart of fire.
I really like this vintage rhythm section plugin. It has some nice old vintage sounds for alternative pianos, or you find things like clavinova or stuff like that over here. So if you're looking for a sound for let's say Twin Peaks or something, this works quite well. But it works well for arpeggios too. And the final thing I introduced to the song, I think that the second final, because the final one was actually the beginning, the piano opening. But the Scarbeat J bass. This one actually turned out to go quite well for the song. I didn't have any kind of bass at the beginning, and I was wondering if I should get some cheap bass for myself to just play it live. But I finally decided to try this one, and it turned out quite well, I think. Especially this part over here, right before the chorus. So this was actually a surprise. I really like this bass sound, and it's quite easy to play with piano. And let's move forward.
I know makes her heart burn, how wakes her soul.
So the last verse before the C section. So let's see how it moves
Now
here.
she's ready for a change, blowing all the ties away. So we're switching out a tone. No, oh my, confused, you need to choose. If you don't lose, how many days went by? The hourglass, it's not about she ever has. No more tears, no more cries.
So I used the fluffy audio scoring piano for this section over here, and I think it's just played with some Valhalla shimmer behind it and played like arpeggio. And I doubled it with his music box over here. Originally there wasn't music box, it was just a piano. So let's try how it sounded back then. And actually, now that I remember, there wasn't even a piano. Sorry. Let's try. How many days went by? Now I saw her. She flies, face smiling strange. I know release the fire stone. I actually have a bit of mixed feelings for using this music box and the piano, because this part works quite well even without any kind of arpeggio behind, because it would give a different feeling for the same part, just using the vocals against the horns over here. But the horns, oh god, I love these horn sounds. I mean, this isn't the best well, it says it's solo horn, but I'd say I tried to find here kind of a smooth sound from those cinematic feels you get within the soundtracks. So it worked quite well, but I never actually got it to work like just by itself, as in going to the front and showing, hey, here are the horns, listen for us. So I just gave them back, and I think it worked quite well. How many days went by? Now the sun turns, she flies, face smiling strange. I know it. As I said previously, I had quite a lot of misgivings with these doublings over here. So I had this idea of some kind of a almost robotic, how do you spell it, robotic vocal sound, which wouldn't be, well, I didn't want to use I wanted to have some kind of analogic sound over here. So I asked Mia to sing this part from different heights, and well, she nailed the octave one lower, so let's hear it out. How many days went by? Now her sudden curse, she flies, face smiling strange. I know release the fire stone. Now I'm Lady Hourglass. It's not a crime she ever asked. No more tears, no blues. How many days went by? Now her sudden curse, she flies, face smiling strange. I know release the. Here you can hear how much this song has actually changed over the time, because we used a couple of months recording this, and we have actually we took this main part for the song, like, I don't know, God, how many times we actually recorded this. I think like maybe 3 times, 4 times, and each take was well, it was a different day, probably a different week, and originally this was so much more smoother. It was like a really mellow, and later on, when we kind of find the way we wanted to make this song to work within the dynamics of the orchestral sound, we decided we probably want to have some kind of more like, well, not yelling, but more forceful singing for certain parts. And this one was one of those where we tried using that real force of me singing.
Now I made the hourglass. It's not a price she ever asked. No more tears, no more cry, she says.
And again, those parts which were really, really, really hard to sing within my apartment were these high kind of choral yellings. I had this idea, but it never really turned out to be as good as I really wanted it to be. I tried panning it left to right. I tried doubling it using some chorus effects and well, everything, but it was so damn hard. And after a couple of weeks doing the final mixing, I really had to give it up because I wasn't going to get it to sound any more better with these parts. I think it was partly because of how we recorded those parts. And if you really want to get your singer to put the best effort on singing, you really have to have the environment for her to really open up. And that's not something you're going to do on a small scale apartments, because your neighbors well, either they love it or they probably hate it, and I have to get new apartment somewhere. So the same problem over here. I didn't get the sound I really wanted to have. It was just kind of hard, but I really had to give it up and be fine with what we had over here. And remember the intro piano. So I wasn't quite satisfied with the ending of this song, and I wanted to put some more effort on it. So we had already recorded all these pieces over here, the vocals. The song was near finished, and I just through well, for the recordings I wanted to have the full structure ready for me to be able to sing. And I just told her, well, there is going to be some kind of outro, so I just copied the intro back over here. And when I played it back, I just told her, do not really care for those like bass and drummer going like crazy against the pianos, because they were out of sync. There were different chords, but those chords which were not perfect actually sounded kind of fun together. And with some minor detailing, I was able to pull out some interesting progression as an alternative intro. So let's hear it out. So comparison. I think that actually worked quite well. So I just polished it with adding the violin as the kind of lead instrument for the final minutes or seconds. Oh darn, I forgot I had his violin over here. I really love this. I think Performance Samples was giving this for free from their website. I think it's still available there. It's quite limited, but it has some great dynamics for solo parts. Just listen this out. Yeah. Do yourself a favor, go to the Performance Samples and get that plugin if it's still available. So I guess that pretty much covers the song, and yeah, I think this turned out to be great for at least as an what is it called? Well, for myself, it was kind of schooling myself to build up the mixture of orchestral song and pop song, and I think I discovered something new for myself to continue, because I really love the strummer guitar against orchestral lead. So I think I'm going to do some more stuff with this ensembles section over here against that acoustic guitar. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it over here. But if you have any questions, need an assistance, or well, just want to leave it some comments, go ahead, and I'll try to answer as soon as possible. So thanks for checking out this video, and I think I'm going to have a couple more coming up soon, and hopefully we're going to hear more from me as soon enough. Yeah. So thanks, and take care, come back later, and see ya.